You know, some tips that I always have when it comes to rattling. No doubt about it that you got to pay attention to the time of the year. You know, early in the year or late in the year, probably tinkling a little bit is going to be more successful than banging them hard in the peak of the rut. When deer are really in the peak of the rut and they're trying to set up their dominant, they fight hard. That's why they, you know, one of the reasons why they lose so much weight. You know, they're fighting, they're chasing does, there's just a lot going on. And when it's really going on, you want to bang them as loud as you can. You want to use natural antlers, preferably, to really create a sound that mimics what's going on out there. And sometimes that's not this little tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. That's bang. I mean, that is hitting it hard. That's kicking the rocks. That's thrashing the trees. That's making all of it. And, you know, obviously when you're up in the tree stand, it's a lot harder to do that. And safety-wise, you probably got to tinkle. But if you're down on the ground rattling in a setup like we like to do in Texas a lot of times, you know, I'm gonna ease up into a mesquite bush, I'm gonna ease up into something, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start throwing rocks, I'm gonna start stamping, I'm gonna bang in the tree. You know, the first things that happen are deer are posturing, you know, they're kicking the ground. Think about a couple of dogs fighting. Think about a couple of big bullies getting ready to go at it. Man, they're posturing. That's some of these other sounds. And when they first hit the antlers, if they're just tinkling, their body's not moving. But if it's two big bucks fighting, you've got dust flying, you've got bodies flying, you've got spit flying, you've got brush being knocked around, you've got all these crazy sounds that are going on, and that's what you've got to mimic. If you're trying to draw out the buck that's going to want to come to that buck fight and get him out in front of you, bang, 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 and you will bring them out.
If you are in need of some rattling antlers, visit your nearest Cabela's. Every buck hunter needs a set of authentic whitetail sheds. Collected from Montana, Wyoming, and New Mexico game farms, these rattling antlers make it hard for bucks to resist. To use this essential buck hunting call, simply grip the bases of the antlers and rattle them together to create irresistible sounds that draw the big boys in close. We venture along with Wade and Yamaha's Steve Nessel on a rattling hunt to see the Cabela's real rack rattling antlers in action.
Do I have him? Young deer. No reason to get the gun up, right? No.
It's pretty when they come out all blown up wanting to fight like that. They're trying to circle us downwind. All right, let's move.
You get him?
Oh yeah.
He's down right there. Woo! How quickly does that happen? How quickly does that happen? Awesome.
Good shot, dude.
Thank
That's
you.
not that easy from there.
No, well, that's down. You saw I like this. I had it all braced.
Yeah.
So I felt pretty good.
Yeah, no, you got it. That's pretty cool. That's the thing about rattling to me. I mean, that's why I like it. You know, it's amazing to me. You rattle in a lot of the deer that I consider to be down the pecking order versus the top of the pecking order. And I think what happens is, and that's not always the case, but it's been my experience a lot of times when you're rattling, the subordinate bucks in the group in that area come in behind who they think are the two big bulls of the woods, because I rattle hard when I rattle. And they'll come in and they'll circle around and they'll kind of mix it up like that. But I mean, I've rattled in some absolute giants in my life, but it is real interesting to me that the first ones that come more often than not are like the third, fourth, fifth deer in the pecking order when I'm out there.